Good afternoon, everyone. It's Graham Coath with another My Music. Today, I'm going to be speaking to John Parish, but not in Paris. No, he's coming all the way from America. But first, this.
I need to get going, Mel. See you later.
John, thanks for joining me today. How are you, sir?
Doing well today.
Good. Where are you coming from?
Well, I lived in Austin for probably most of my life, but recently I relocated to Brownsville, Texas.
Lovely.
Yes,
Lovely.
by the sea, on the border by the sea is how that goes here. That's the saying here in Brownsville.
Well, good. And any particular reason for the move? I mean, inspired by the sea?
I have always been inspired by the sea. I grew up down in South Texas and then moved to Austin and spent most of my life there. But mainly, I think I needed a change, and Austin became really expensive to live in, and so this was a better deal all the way around for me. Close to the ocean, which is my favorite place, and just a better living opportunity for my wife and I.
Now, we're going to talk about your current music in a minute, but I want to take you back. You said just before we came on that a lot of your musical influences were from the UK. So
they are. I mean,
yeah.
Absolutely. I think that when I decided to get into contemporary music, I was a band student. Okay. I was always in the junior high and high school band, and did well there. But when I really got it, the main influence that got me into doing this, Graham, was I heard Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. And I mean, it was just all over after that. I became a super fan.
You're not the first person to have said that.
Oh, I'm sure I'm not. I mean, because it was quite outstanding. I mean, there's not very many albums that stay on the charts that long for that many years. I mean, it's like the perfect album.
When did you hear that? What sort of age were you when you heard that?
I was 15. It's 15 when I heard it. I'd listened to other, rock music, and I'd been a Beatles fan and Alice Cooper fan, and I heard Pink Floyd and was like, this is just amazing.
Yeah, I can remember my music teacher putting on Time.
Yeah, oh, okay.
When I was about 11 years old,
mm-hmm.
And actually causing quite a scene in the school. Because suddenly all of these clocks went off and and whatever, and the teacher next door came in to tell him off because she'd moved the whole class outside.
It was
the school alarm.
It is. It's sure I can see that happening.
It was quite something, but it was tremendous. I mean, I had a great music teacher at middle mm-hmm. school.
Yeah.
And he really tried to open our eyes to different kinds of music. But we'd never heard anything quite like that. I mean, a piece of music that was, made up of clocks and, began with clocks and chimes or whatever. And then, things like Money with the,
sure,
cash, the cash till opening and shutting, etc. It was just like, wow, how inventive.
They were innovators, and they were risk takers, and there was always an experimental side to them, which I'd say that's in me as well, and so they really motivated me to. I don't know what it was, but there was something about that chocolatey full sound of Roger Waters' bass, and that's what I wanted to do, was play. And I started with that instrument. As far as getting into electric instruments, away from my brass, symphonic stuff. So
yeah, Was it what other bands? Were there any other bands at the time that really kind of?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have these roots in sort of like progressive rock. I mean, I was a big Genesis head. I really, Yes, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer. See, it's just like on and on and on with all these English bands, and so I became very studious with these groups and listen and put the headphones on late at night, and there's just a whole world in there when we're deep listening to this kind of music. Takes you to different worlds in your mind.
When you start getting into progressive rock, and as I have, you know, you then suddenly discover some of the kind of more obscure bands as well. Did you ever get into sort of other bands?
Oh, King Crimson was huge. I remember hearing, down here in the Rio Grande Valley, there was at the time there just wasn't a lot going on. It's kind of remote and away from everything else. And a guy from Houston migrated down here, Yosemite, and he had a show called The Expansion Chamber that came on about 10 at night. I was there with my little clock radio. And he would play some of these bands, and it was like I heard the mellotron and all those voice sounds from In the Court of the Crimson King, and it felt like my brain just exploded. I was like, what in the world am I hearing? So it was great. The timing was great. It was about 14, 15, and this guy comes from Houston. He comes down here, and he expanded everybody's mind. He was playing everything like that. All of the stuff that was not real pop. It was brainiac music.
Yeah,
it was.
And it's such a great genre to get into in a way. If people have never explored prog music, some people, growing up, there were always two factions to that. There were a load of people that were really into it, and then there was, of course, all of the people that made fun of it, and
right.
So,
because music started changing, in the late 70s, and they claimed that they became kind of dinosaurs overnight, and I still have a great respect for a lot of that. Some of it I'll listen to, and it really it's kind of a nostalgia type of thing if I'm listening to it now. But some of that stuff had long legs. I thought Lamb Lies Down on Broadway still is relevant. I think it has the longest legs of any progressive rock album. It's just amazing. I wonder if the enossification by Brian Eno on there had anything to do with it, with all the subliminal stuff he mixed on there. Because Brian Eno, ended up being a big influence on me too. He and David Byrne released that My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, and I just went, okay, these guys have stepped into the future here. Still a very relevant album to this day.
Well, what I think is quite interesting is that all of that went full circle in a way.
Yes.
And like prog music again has seen a real renaissance in the last few years.
It has.
And I think part of it is because it kind of went through that shame element, where everyone, okay, I actually quite like prog, but or if you didn't like prog and you were completely against it or whatever. I remember watching one of my favorite bands, Marillion. I remember watching Fish being taken the rip out of on some comedy show where he kept stepping up to the mic to sing the first bit of Kaylee, and every time he got there, they just cut it. It was quite painful. But the thing was that it went through that period, as I say, of being sort of downtrodden by society. But now what's happened in the last few years is that, you've got all of these artists that have come back and said, we always loved prog, and we always, we were secret fans. Steve Hackett, I don't know whether you followed what Steve Hackett's been doing with his solo stuff. But I mean, one of the best things for me was because also at that time growing up, whilst I was listening to Pink Floyd, I was still listening to pop music of the time, and one of my
Mhm.
favorite pop artists of the time was Nick Kershaw.
Mhm.
I don't know whether you ever cottoned on to
I
Nick Kershaw.
I haven't. I'm
Right.
not familiar.
Okay. So Nick Kershaw had a number of good tunes, pop
Mhm.
tunes in the charts with things like I Won't Let the Sun Go Down on Me and
Mhm.
Wide Boy or whatever. But there was always something edgy about his pop. And I just wondered where it had come from. And then suddenly he appeared on stage with Steve Hackett a few years ago
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
singing Lamia from Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Really?
And
Wow.
yeah, check it out on video if you haven't seen it, folks. It's absolutely brilliant. But and you know, talking about it, like he was such a fan. He was such a fan, and what he had done is he brought an element of the edginess of pop
Mhm.
prog into his pop music, and that's where
Okay.
it had come from.
Okay. Very
See, and
fascinating.
so yeah, so suddenly, you know, like 20 years later, it was okay for these pop people to say,
Sure.
"I actually really liked prog." It was
Well, what happened in what you had the new wave movement in the 80s, and I mean, uh sound wise, these bands just they did kind of become dinosaurs overnight. It was like everybody was moving in a new direction a lot, and I do have to give a lot of credit to also my current approaches in music to some of the really kind of dark 80s stuff that came out in the beginning. Just really lovely stuff like Dead Can Dance's first
oh,
album, just that witchy sort of mysterious stuff. With me, music had to have sort of a sense of mystery to me to keep me
mm.
keep my attention. I like the mystery. The mysterious element in music's got to be there to keep my
Did you
interest.
gravitate then? Because I certainly
Yeah,
did myself. But did you
I did.
gravitate from prog into things like the 4AD catalog, things like
Yeah,
that?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah.
I really did. And I needed to survive because my band and I moved up to Austin, and we were doing this kind of prog stuff, and it was like, oh my God, we're dinosaurs. What are we going to do? We ended up breaking up because we were just some people's minds were split over the whole deal. It was like, look, stuff has changed. That's it. You need to move forward, and I did. And it was really neat, kind of early on there, getting that opportunity with a friend of mine and working with Arthur Brown from the crazy world of Arthur Brown, we did a rendition of a Christmas song with my beatbox, my DMX drum machine, did a real 80s version of the song with this guy. I thought it was kind of cool because he'd been famous. I wasn't sure who he was. And then I started seeing all these closet classic stuff on MTV. I was like, man, this guy was huge. Oh my goodness. I'm working with this really famous guy from England. And he was a very nice guy.
Yeah, there's some very nice eccentric guys out there. I
Yeah.
once met Alice Cooper,
Oh,
and and
I love him. I love him.
exactly, and but everybody thinks Alice Cooper is, you know, that they see the makeup and you know
Yeah.
that whole image or whatever.
Mhm.
But you know that he was introduced to me by another musician who plays golf with him.
Mhm. He's a regular guy. He really is a
Right. And
regular
he's just
guy.
so regular, right?
I heard that Killer album when I was a kid. It was over at a friend of mine's house, and I was just blown away. I mean, it's one of the greatest rock albums of all time. Wow. And I saw him in Austin in 2016, and I mean, with all the other prog artists, everyone, I have never seen a tighter band in my entire life. It was amazing.
He's a showman, isn't he? He's an absolute showman.
They were so precise.
Yeah.
They were like precision,
Mm.
amazing. And they're not even that kind of band. They're just a rock, they're, a rock band, but albeit very genuine and very and unique and super tight, incredible.
Yeah. Coming into modern day, is there any
Mhm.
modern day music that you listen to that
Oh yeah. Oh yes, absolutely. I had a lot of my friends just kind of ditch the modern stuff, and I felt bad for them because there's great music out there. It's always there. You have to. It's a treasure hunt these days because
Hmm.
there's a
There's so
lot of
much music.
saturation. Yeah,
Yeah.
saturation. Absolutely. Sure. I mean, what I've been listening to a lot of lately is tobacco. This guy from Black Moth Super Rainbow Tobacco did some incredible solo work that is, I mean, it looks like he really tried to do something unique and he just nailed it. He nailed it with his approach with this kind of vocoding synth and beat boxes, really kind of distorted, but it's all instrumental stuff and fabulous. I really dig him a lot. He's an American artist. A lot of the stuff has kind of changed. There's been a lot of American kind of electronic people that I've been into. No doubt, still into some of the UK stuff. Some of Bonobo's earlier stuff I was really into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saw him and met him at a gig in Austin a while back. Um, and Aphex Twin, loves some of the ambient stuff that guy's done. Incredible. Casino versus Japan, incredible ambient stuff. Really love him a lot. Um, and it goes on and on. Yeah, many. I stay current to many. I'm probably heavily influenced, probably by a lot of modern musicians and artists these days.
And what I'm getting
Heavily.
from you then, John, is that you're a real music fan right across the board.
I am.
Yeah.
I try to find ways to like things rather than dislike them. And it has a lot to do with some
So
of my
important.
peers. Some
Yeah.
of my peers, like when I was, they were saying like, listen, man, you need to listen to stuff more than just once. You can't just toss it away if you don't get it the first time.
Mm.
And I don't, I in this day and age, I don't know if that's going on so much. People seem to be a little impatient. But they always say, patience is something that's important in life, and I try to give albums and music a fair shake. If I don't like it the first time, but there was something intriguing about it, I
Yes.
know that I have to go back. I have to go back and revisit. I don't care how you can't be egotistical. I mean, you may not have really been in the right mood to enjoy it at the time. You have to realize that. The
Yeah.
other people should always realize this. You got to be careful what you tend to want to throw away.
Do you know what? I so agree with you, and it's something I've talked about 2 or 3 times on this program with people. In fact, the very first one of these that I did,
Yeah.
and I think I've done about 110 of these now. But the very first one of these I did with Fred Bong, I talked about when I was, again, probably about 11 or so, I was given a copy of Pierre Ubu's album, New Picnic Time.
Okay.
I won it at a Radio Luxembourg competition while I was on holiday dancing. And it's such a abstracted album, and especially for someone of that age to listen to. It's not obvious music, if you know what I mean. It's edgy, and it's the vocals very distracting from the music, etc. But I listened to it, and the first time I listened to it, I was like, I can't listen to this. I can't listen to it. But actually, for me, that was a challenge as well. I was like, why can't I listen to this?
Yeah.
Right. I want to be able to listen to this because there's something fundamentally cool about this as well. And I want to be able to understand this. You just persevere. And I've talked to artists about this before. I think that if you try with music, you stretch your ability to listen. Your ears become larger, if you like. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's very important. You need to learn how to, something that me and my friends, which I think I'm very blessed to have had the people around me when I was in my formative music listening years who were saying like, look, you need to give stuff a shot. And there's a difference between hearing and listening to music.
Oh,
And I knew
totally.
that I knew that I had the ability to listen to it and to try to hear all the instruments, and to listen to how all the parts fit together and make the piece of music whole. And I just trained myself by, okay, let's listen intently to this drummer the whole time. And find out just how melodically they're putting their pieces together. A lot of that has to do with ear training didn't hurt. Being in a symphonic band and learning a lot of music theory really taught me how to listen to music and how to
Yeah.
listen to all the parts going on around you, especially when you're performing. You're performing, and then you're doing your own part, and you've got your part down so well that you can just your mind can drift away and listen to everybody else, what everyone else is doing. So when you're listening in headphones, you can apply that.
I totally agree. Do you know what? As a teenager, I used to tell friends that actually I did, because I didn't read books as a teenager.
Mhm.
I hated the physical act of reading books. I've kind of grown into it now,
Yeah.
because I've found the books that I like. But I used to say to people, they used to say, "Well, don't you read?" And I say, "No, but I read music." And what I meant by that was I don't, because I still don't. I can't
Yeah.
read notation, but
Yeah.
I read music. So when I listen to music, I'm actually reading into it. I can hear it at different levels, and I can go back, and every time I listen to it, I can get something else out of it
Yeah.
again, which I didn't hear the first time.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes, that's what the experience should be like. And I I believe in people's imagination. I believe people's imaginations are better than in any music video. I
so
do.
let's talk about Paris Music Corp. This
Sure.
is your project, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're constructing your music now, is how important is that for you that people can do that process with listening to your music? That there isn't just something there that you know is obvious the first time and that's it, but
Mhm.
they need to dive in again and again to get something else out of it. Are you
Well,
conscious of that, or does it come anyway?
I'm not conscious of it.
Right.
I really just kind of lay out what I'm feeling at the time. A lot of it is experimentation. A lot of the kind of ambient soundscape oriented stuff. It hinges a lot on the ability to be able to kind of improvise on the spot. And I get that from jazz influences that I have. I like the way jazz musicians' ability to improvise on the spot. Really love the way Miles Davis has done it. He's
Yeah.
really, I love that guy. I really do. And I've been listening to a lot of him and John Hassel as of late, as far as jazz influences go, but certainly more than just those
And
guys.
do you know what? You can always tell when someone's actually listened to Miles Davis because you say, "What Miles Davis?" And they go, "Well, Miles Davis." You go, "No, no, no, no. What Miles Davis are you
Yeah,
listening to?"
yeah,
Because if you really know Miles Davis, then you realise that sort of Miles Davis reinvented jazz 5 or 6 times. So
he
it's
did.
right.
He did. I really liked there's a Panthalassa album that Bill Laswell did. He did his own remixes of Miles Davis stuff from a lot of the
Mm,
70s jazz fusion era stuff. It's amazing. I love it.
yeah, but it's definitely you know where he started that that
Sure.
bebop and whatever all the
Absolutely.
way through to the
Hmm.
modal stuff and then the jazz
Right.
fusion stuff and the hip
Sure.
hop stuff. I mean, it was incredible. What a journey!
I
What an
know.
absolute journey! Who,
Absolutely.
so in terms of this music, how do you make it? Is it solely you?
It is right now. It is solely me. Some of the stuff that's got drums in it, I'm basically just programming drum patterns and sequences, and then I'm laying down either guitar or bass. Some stuff is bass driven. This light speed piece that seems to have some pretty good legs and been seeing a lot of radio play. It all started out with writing it on bass and on my fretless, and then messing around with some drum beats after that. And
for the geeks amongst us, are you using all modern equipment, or have you got some relics in your armory?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, my Steinberger bass is over 30 years old, so it's old. As far as my equipment goes, I'm using modern sequencers like Cubase, and then lots of different effect pedals. So that's how I generate a lot of tones and sounds with some of those effects pedals. And sometimes they'll drive things, and then sometimes it's just playing around on an instrument and finding a melody I like, and then I'll go from there and see where it takes me.
Yeah. Who do you want to be listening to your music?
Who?
Yeah.
Man, everybody. I want everyone to try to give it a try. It might not be for everybody, but I'd certainly like the doors flung open for people to make up their own minds about it. So
would you like people to remix it as well? Would you like people to?
I can't say no to that. I think that sure, if they would like to take a crack at it, I think I'd be open-minded. I think I should be. I think being open-minded to things in music is always important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to make a good T-shirt as well, that Parish Music Corps.
I made one. I made one just for myself. It looks really good. I mean, I actually made a black one. I already did about 2 weeks ago. I had it mailed to me. I was like, wow, this does make a great T-shirt. I think that's really funny you mentioned that. I did. I just made a solo one. There was actually a company who would just do a quick one. I thought, it's pretty good. I think I could choose maybe a little bit better company, but I thought it looked good. It does.
Yeah, well, perhaps you should do like a sort of Patreon thing or Kickstarter thing on that, and if people send the cash, you'll make the T-shirts up.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, wouldn't that be good? Yeah, there you go. It's one of my things these days, which is I say to a lot of bands that if people are going to stream this music or have it for free, as it were, why not buy the T-shirt?
Yeah, that's a tough situation, isn't it? How how you've got all these streams and you make thousands of a penny or something on it. It's just crazy stuff. I'd love to see it monetized. I certainly licensing, and I'm not against having anything licensed for a commercial. I mean, great, that would bring in money. I'm into that. Also, of course, I have scored a documentary, and I'm in the middle of working on a horror short, which I scored. Now I'm working on the dialogue edit and cleaning up all the dialogue on it. That's what I'll end up doing once this interview is done. I'll be back to working on that for a little bit. So,
my partner in crime, my business partner, has just said, you should start lining up suppliers. Why aren't we doing this as a side hustle? we should be doing T-shirts off the back of the music interviews. We should be selling your merchandise for you, right?
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, wouldn't it be?
Good idea.
And then good idea, Odessa. We could do that. We could start that. Do the interview, push people into buying the product, and what I want to see is. Mm-hmm. The band logo or whatever on the front, and on the back it says, I listened to John Parish's album, or the Parish Music Corps album on Spotify, but I gave him £10 for the T-shirt.
That's cool. I love it.
And then that's a great idea.
I love it.
And then if the whole world did that,
Yep.
it'd be fine. It'd be fine. You know, you could
Sure.
have 100 people listen to your album, and that's £110 notes in your pocket. I mean, that would
Sure.
be great.
And there's kind of a reciprocity with that T-shirt, you know, because like, hey, who's Parish Music Corp? Maybe I gotta go check them out, you know.
Yeah,
so
exactly that. You know,
right?
I mean, maybe that the T-shirt can become the CD of the next generation, and that's fine. Unless, of course, people can afford to get it to vinyl eventually, because vinyl's tremendous still. It's just the beauty of vinyl.
It is. I don't know. I haven't made any plans for doing that, but I've thought about it. I've had people ask me about CDs because it seems like CDs are making a big comeback right now.
Do you know what? Actually, CDs are beginning to make a comeback. I actually read an article on it just the other day, and I was quite pleased because I've got about 6,000 of them in my cupboard. So can I have mine first? Maybe it should have a QR code, or does that quite creepy? Yeah, no, absolutely. But no, there was a thing that CDs may actually make a comeback. The last year was the first year where the decline in CDs halted in terms of the amount of decline. So
that's right.
Tapes grew.
Yep.
For the first time, vinyl continued to go up.
Yeah.
Obviously, streaming continued to grow. So there was more music being consumed than ever before. But CDs kind of halted. But we're beginning to see that trend turn around, which is interesting. I just think people like to have a tangible thing in their hands. I think this is part of humankind, really.
Absolutely. I believe that people do like to have that tangible piece in their hand. And I mean, I'm at as far as my files go and everything, I could put together CDs easily. As far as vinyl goes, man, there might have to be some retooling of some of the mixes because you've got to make adjustments of the low frequencies to make sure that your needle doesn't bounce around all over the vinyl. That's quite an undertaking.
And there's not many places at the moment that are producing it. That's the thing.
They're having problems with trying to print vinyl because when a big company wants to do it, they come and take over the little plants, and all the other guys like me and whatever are sitting there like waiting in a line. So I've seen some mention of that anyway as of late.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. It's all the people we've said before in this program. It's all the people beginning with A. All the bands beginning with A. ABBA, Adele, because and someone even said I should change my name because clearly last year it was everyone beginning with A, so they felt that if they changed their name to something beginning with A, maybe they go further up the list and get their vinyl quicker. Don't think it works like that. I think this talks, money talks when it comes to getting vinyl.
That's right.
Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
You too.
Love delving into music with anybody that absolutely loves music. Where can people, other than Spotify and wherever, where can people go and hear your music? Where's the best place?
Well, getting it off of you can check it out on Bandcamp. Also, of course, it's available for purchase from Apple and Bandcamp and Amazon. It's on many different platforms. You could go to www.parismusiccorp.com, and I've made a very simple website there where when you land on that page, you can see all of the icons that represent where the music is at, just right there at your fingertips. And you can just click on Bandcamp or Apple or, whichever one you want, and it'll take you there for purchase or,
Is there a mailing list that people can sign up to?
I don't have a mailing list as of yet. Not as of yet.
Do it. That's an absolute do it so that people can, stay in touch, etc. Because I think that's the future. And then when those T-shirts come out, then we'll be there with those.
I love the idea.
Following up with the T-shirts.
There you go.
Oh yeah. So what's your just before we leave? What's your ambitions for the rest of 2022? What any more music from you?
Yeah, I believe so. I think the first thing is that I've just got to shore up this thing for this short film, this short horror film that was written by my friend Luke Garza, and just make sure the mix is really good on that. Once that's done, then I'll probably start in on some new music. As
Brilliant.
far as anything else to be released this year, there's always a possibility. Maybe I could release an EP. Who knows? If I go really nuts, I might have the ability to release a second LP at the end of the year. But more than likely, it would probably be an EP later on in the year.
Cool. And just before we leave, the last thing that I generally ask people is, if you could work with someone, alive or dead, who would it be?
If I could work with somebody alive or dead, who would it be? Wow. I think, golly, I'd love to work with. I guess I'd like to work with this guy Tobacco. I would like to work with him.
Is he on Twitter?
I haven't looked to see if he's on Twitter, but I really like his stuff. It's very new sounding.
I'm gonna look and see if he's on Twitter.
It's very out of the ordinary. I love his stuff. It's out of the ordinary sounding stuff.
I'm making a note now. Tobacco.
Yeah.
He's smoking hot. Tobacco. On Twitter, I'm going to see if this guy's on Twitter. Do we know that? Just so I can make sure I've got the right thing. Do we know the name of an album or?
Ripe and Majestic is just great, man.
Ripe and Majestic, right?
Oh, it's incredible. I love this guy's approach to things.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna try and tag him in, see if we can make this happen. And next time I come back, it will be to discuss the John Parish Tobacco mashup. That will be fantastic. Yeah.
Cool. Love it.
Brilliant. John, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Hope you've enjoyed it as well.
I have.
Cool. I'll speak to you again, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much, Graham. Really appreciate it. You have a great one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.